Hi, this is Heroic Face Medical Science. We try to saving lives through innovations. We join the cutting-edge technology and the medical expertise, try to save life of patient in the hospital, ICU, or the operation room. We're primarily focused on respiratory diseases. By the report of Medtronic in 2019, the respiratory compromise and following diseases increasing greatly during the past decades. It's about like 31% increase over the 10 years. And the problem is costly. The medical system spend like $37 billion each year for the respiratory diseases. And if you acquire respiratory diseases in the hospital, then you're about to have 7-day longer length of stay in the hospital compared with the ordinary patients. And the patient with respiratory diseases like respiratory compromise, respiratory failure, or the other ARDS type diseases, it's about like 29 times greatly opportunity to die of the patients rather than the ordinary groups. So it is a great market opportunity for respiratory monitor. Although nowadays we have like SpO2, respiratory rate monitor, or the Untitled CO2, but still there are a bunch of problems is unsolved in the hospital. For example, in the operation room, if you are proceeding a non-intubated procedure sedations, there are about like 80% of the times the procedure sedation will got the adverse events. For example, like prolonged apnea or the mild stage desaturations, where somehow it will desaturate till like 70%. It is a dangerous situation. So by the guideline of the ASA and ADA that mentioned the non-intubated sedation patient really need to monitor their breathing sounds or Untitled CO2. However, it is really hard for the medical doctor to practice the breathing sound monitor just like 10 years before. Since nowadays, one anesthesiologist need to take care about like 4 to 5 beds of the patients. And the Untitled CO2 sometimes doesn't really work. For example, like during the non-intubated procedure sedations, the medical crew will supply the oxygen, and the oxygen will disturb the carbon dioxide concentration on the recording of Untitled CO2. So it is not really accurate all the time. And in parts of the procedure, for example, like the plastic surgery on the face or the ENT surgery, at that moment, your nasal cannula cannot be properly installed from at your nose. So at this moment, the recording is not accurate at all. However, there is still an urgent need for the inhalation or respiratory monitor in the procedure sedation to find the partial airway obstruction, apnea events, or the other more severe respiratory system events. So we present our product is the ultrasound electronic stethoscope with the AirMount AI-powered respiratory monitor. It is a very easy to install, just like the patch here. You can easily attach the light-weighted patch on the patient's pretrachea and precortical area to record the breathing sounds. And we will drawing the respiratory on the screen, and we empowered by the deep learning algorithms to figure it out the inhalation, exhalation, and part of the partial airway obstruction situations. And we also have very sophisticated ambient noise cancellation technology in our electronic stethoscope to help the patient. And by nowadays, covered by the IRB, we already practice on more than 600 patients. And it is very welcomed by the anesthesiologists and the surgeons. This is how it works. So now you're listening a sound lab that representing the partial airway obstruction, just like the snoring patients. So if you are sleeping and you snore, or you got the partial airway obstructions, you are starting to gradually decrease your blood oxygenation. At that moment, if you are sleeping, you will wake up. However, if you are sedation, that is not possible to wake up. So it is a severe situation, and that is what we are targeting for. So nowadays, the surgeons and anesthesiologists, they are used to use the capnography, which is the Untitled CO2, to measurement the respiratory rates and also the other respiratory diseases in the procedural sedation patient. But just like what I mentioned, they are limited by the procedure. For example, like if you have a facial procedure or the upper GI endoscope, you're not able to use the capnography. And also in the market, there are acoustic sensor to sense the vibrations of their inhalation. However, they don't have the active and ambient noise canceling, so they cannot suffer the condition in the surgical room. And our ultrasound electronic stethoscope with the AirMod AI-powered respiratory monitor, we can adopt into plenty of the procedure scenario. So we can serve the patient in GI room, in the operation room, and in all of the place. So we're trying to save the problem for the respiratory compromise in the surgical rooms. In that case, it's representing about like 3.9 billion medical expenditure for the rescuing. And for the surgical respiratory monitor, the market opportunity is about like 1 billion. And we are, for this type of respiratory monitor, we are about to addressing a reachable market about like 53 millions in the United States and the market in the Pan-Asia area. So we're about to ship in Taiwan, and we're looking forward to collaborate with the other distributor or a medical system around the world. And thank you for listening.
The team for our next startup came together to solve the problem of deadly medical prescription errors. This global problem that costs lives hasn't been able to have effective solutions because the data to build the solutions isn't exactly hanging around in the cloud somewhere. This startup got access to 1.3 billion prescriptions, and they created the solution that works. Please welcome Jeremiah Scholl and Aesop Technologies.
Hi, we're Aesop Technology, and Aesop stands for AI Enhanced Safety of Prescription. We're working to save lives by preventing medication errors. This is a big problem that harms 1.5 million Americans every year. That's 3 per minute. And it happens for a few different reasons, with one of them being inappropriately written prescriptions. That happens when a doctor writes a prescription where the medications don't match the diagnosis, age, and gender of the patient. They might do that because they mix up 2 drugs that look alike and sound alike, maybe click on the wrong one in a UI, or just because of lack of knowledge. So there's been some attempts made to reduce this problem by creating decision support systems that fire alerts based on medication guidelines. These guidelines say something like insulin should be prescribed for diabetes, and they fire an alert when the doctor tries to enter a prescription that doesn't conform. However, modern medical practice is more complicated than anyone's been able to model effectively for these systems, and in the end, they surface alerts that are accurate less than 10% of the time. So, this seems like an interesting problem to apply machine learning to. However, no one's been able to get at the right data. The problem is it's scattered everywhere and it's messy, with fuzzy mappings between medications and diagnosis. Also, the data's private, so just getting access to enough of it to work on this problem hasn't been possible until now. What happened is our co-founder Jack got access to 1.3 billion prescriptions in Taiwan. It was clean room access where he couldn't upload anything or download anything, but he could write scripts on their computers and look at the output. It was sort of like trying to remember all the lines in a movie by going to the movie theater over and over again to work on the project, but he was really persistent, and after a few years, he hit on the right machine learning technique and got really interesting results. He ended up producing great metadata, got permission to extract it, and we then developed a scalable process to reinforce it with US data. The results are fantastic, and we've got a product called MedGuard. It's a decision support system that identifies inappropriate prescriptions at a 70 to 80% accuracy, and it surfaces real-time alerts to physicians at the time they're prescribing. Also, it can recommend medications and diagnoses in order to improve workflows, and that can even be viewed as the first step towards a virtual pharmacist. It really does work. Here's a real example from MedGuard catching an error. In this case, the doctor wanted to prescribe a common muscle relaxant, Solaxin, for lower back pain. However, he accidentally inputted Solein instead of Solaxin, and that's an anti-schizophrenia drug. But MedGuard was able to surface an alert, he deleted Solein, he changed it to Solaxin, and everything worked out fine. In this case, it could have been really serious because the age of the patient could have resulted in cardiac arrest. So it's a great example of how MedGuard can save a life. We've got excellent traction in our first market, Taiwan. We're in 5 hospitals already monitoring 10,000 prescriptions a day, and we're post-revenue. In the US, we got FDA clearance in September and started working with famous Harvard professor David Bates on studying the performance of our model at US hospitals. David Bates is the most famous patient safety researcher in the world, and we're super excited to be working with him. The results look excellent, and we're going to publish them soon. Plus, we should have our first live installation at a major US university hospital in the next 2 or 3 months. And we're going to make money too. If we charge $100,000 per hospital, we get a bottom-up market size in the US of $860 million. And we can apply our team and technology to additional problems in the decision support and coding support spaces for a total market size of almost $10 billion. Domestic markets will be multiples of this, and who knows how much someone can make with a virtual pharmacist someday. We've got a really experienced team consisting of Jack, our chairman, who's the president-elect of the International Medical Informatics Association, Jim, our CEO, who's a great guy to work with and is a former CIO of a medical center. I'm Jeremiah, the CPO, and my big career highlight was 4 years as a PM at Google. Harvey's our chief medical officer, and he's at Harvard these days working on our trials there. Our advisory board can be looked at together with our data as part of our unfair advantage. We've got David Bates and another famous Harvard professor, Charles Safran, who's the former president of the American Medical Informatics Association. We've also got a former director of the National Health Insurance in Taiwan and a former Taiwanese Minister of Health. Yeah, there's competition, but they don't have near the data and product we have. Our closest competitor is MedAware, and they have 1/30th of our data, and they can generate high accuracy alerts, but for a small scope of the medication errors we can identify. And Google started looking at this problem and published a paper using a little bit of data on a system that's not ready for prime time yet. So thanks to our Skydeck advisors, and putting it all together, what we're looking for is to raise $2 million to hit the US market and get a really good footprint here. We want to use it to get to 20 customers and $3 million in ARR by mid-2022. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ava Chu from Biomedicare. Today, I'm going to share with you about our Osteoporosis AI Screening Assistant. We, Biomedicare, want to be the guardian of health for women. In our society, women are our mothers, our wives, and our daughters, who usually bears more responsibility in taking care of others. And we would like to take care of these women and further take care of everyone with the help of AI medical device. We are working on several AI screening assistants on different diseases, including uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, leukemia, osteoporosis, and sarcopenia. And today we are focusing mainly on our osteoporosis AI solution. Osteoporosis is a serious global health problem second only to cardiovascular disease, and the prevalence rate of osteoporosis in Taiwan is about 28.3% for women and 23.9% for men. And some people might think osteoporosis is not life-threatening and therefore not very important. But in fact, the danger of osteoporosis is that it can easily lead to hip fractures. It's kind of like the idea of high blood pressure can easily lead to stroke, so it needs attention and treatments. According to the statistics, 1 in 3 women over the age of 50 will experience osteoporotic fractures, as well 1 in 5 men aged over 50. Osteoporosis is estimated to affect 200 million women worldwide and causes more than 8.9 million fractures annually, which is like an osteoporotic fracture every 3 seconds. Just like that. And the mortality rate in the first year after a hip fracture is as high as 20 to 24%. And since 2010, about 158 million people over the age of 50 have high-risk osteoporotic fractures worldwide, and it is expected to double by 2040. So we have to take osteoporosis very seriously. And these are the 2 common ways for osteoporosis detections in Taiwan. One is the quantitative ultrasound, and the other one is a dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, known as the DESA, which is the gold standard to diagnose osteoporosis according to WHO. And to compare these 2 methods, one has a problem of low accuracy, while DESA has a high accuracy, but patients have to pay much more from their own pockets. So we are wondering if there's another option that is low cost, high accuracy, and fast. So in this graph, we can see that there's a missing part in the market that needs to have high accuracy while having low overall inspection cost. And so we have developed our AI solution, the Osteoporosis AI Screening Assistant. The assistant is a good tool for both outpatient and community services for the hospital, with a characteristic of low cost, fast, and high accuracy. It reduces the overall medical care costs for osteoporosis. And for the consumers, it is a good way to take early measures to prevent and treat bone loss or fracture problems, as it takes only 6 seconds to come up with the results. Our AI distinguishes the risk of osteoporosis by analyzing the hip rate X-ray images. And we are able to train the AI model thanks to our own technology in low resource computing, parameter iteration model of method of AI training, multi-GPU computing, and a self-designed 21 layers AI model. And one Fang hospital in the Taipei city has adopted our solution into its osteoporosis sarcopenia center, which just opened in the beginning of this year. In order to offer its patients with comprehensive care, it integrates the resources from the whole hospital, including 9 divisions, 5 types of professionals, 2 support departments, and 1 center. With all working as one, all the osteoporosis patients or potential patients will be referred to the Osteoporosis and Sarcopenia Center by all the different departments and divisions. And then they will complete comprehensive assessments and evaluations to take appropriate treatments. And the center will have them come back for regular reviews and follow-ups. And the other application at One Fang Hospital is to go outside the hospital into the community with mobile X-ray buses. After the patients take the hip rate images on the mobile X-ray bus, we can immediately get the image in our device, and the AI screening assistant will have the results in just 6 seconds and will print out the report right away. And in this application, we are able to proactively reach out to the patients who are not aware of the idea of osteoporosis. And that way, we can identify osteoporosis patients before the fractures even occurs. And these are some of our pictures from our past osteoporosis screening events in the community. And we have screened around 300 people in the past 4 events. And that's all for my sharing. I hope you all had a good time and were able to take some good takeaways. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Ubetrain Inc. is a cutting-edge company in AICT, AI plus ICT. The AI-powered Ubetrain provides the semantic solutions for AI bot, text mining, as well as expert streaming, in particular human-assisted AI, hybrid AI. Ubetrain is the member of Go Smart, initiated by Taipei City Government, and is currently a qualified AI service provider for government procurement in Taiwan. Ubetrain is founded by Dr. Su. He has a PhD degree in data science, and Ubetrain is listed on Startup Board of the Taipei Exchange 7587 for pre-IPO. Ubetrain is accelerating and empowering by Microsoft, AWS, and Tyra at the same time, and wins the award of one of the world's best AI 50 startups of Smart City Summit and Expo 2020. This slide is introduction, the milestone of Ubetrain. Ubetrain provides the IaaS AI as a service based on the cross-border SaaS cloud service by Azure, AWS, etc. It can be a universal or customized application by multi-language AI chatbot or text mining connected to the Ubetrain semantics processing and computing engine. Ubetrain can provide a hybrid call center solution for customer service, AI travel bot for tour guide, AI legal bot for law and regulations consulting, and will develop other AI applications for smart retail, restaurant, travel, or tour, etc. Ubetrain will cooperate with the semiconductor chip set design and production company to develop AI semantics algorithm based on the edge and device chipset for industry applications. The advantage of the AI bot: the first is immediate response, no waiting. The second is answer different customers at the same time, just one AI. The third is reply 24 hours, 7 days, no paid, even overtime. The fourth, always keep patient, no bias, never complain to boss. The features of AI bot of IaaS Cloud by Ubetrain. 1 is AI with human hybrid service. 2, is AI bot subscription for SaaS. Third is cross-border AI cloud service. Fourth is multi-language support. 5. Multi-interface or multi-device support with API by AI collaborate. Six is friendly AI dashboard for easy viewing and management. 7 is instant reply, recommendation, and push. 8 is dialogue parsing and visualization for easy analysis and decision making. This application is AI Live Bot. It shows menu for viewing and tapping. And this slide shows its tapping extension to reply by Live Bot to consult with human. The feature of ubiquitous AI bot is direct answer by AI engine based on semantic algorithm. The feature is direct ask and instant reply. This application is AI travel bot for tour guides. The map sparse with images by color. And this slide shows a virtual tour guide in query traffic and weather from open data. The Ubitrain AI bot is an AICT service, which is a paradigm shifting from traditional call center to the AI call center. The mechanism of the human-assisted AI for AI bot can improve the human satisfaction by instant AI answering and optional human support, with reducing cost of the customer service. This slide shows the visit of VIP and the media exposure for Ubitrain. Ubitrain is one of AI partner with Microsoft for startups, the second term. Ubitrain is pitching at World Congress on IT in Taipei. And the exhibit AI travel bot at Okinawa Resort Tech Vesta Expo. Ubitrain AI bot is an AI service based on the cross-border SaaS cloud service. This slide is our contact information. Welcome to contact us. Thank you for your time.